You know, we're growing like crazy as a company. We've been through some phenomenal growth around this product, and we can only do so many things at once. So we had to kind of look around and see how we could get this done. The other thing is it takes a long time to do it right. You know, that's overall Blizzard philosophy is not to rush anything out. Let's just make sure that it gets done. And to be honest, the size of this game is enormous, and it's getting bigger every day. And when we talked about translating this game into Brazilian Portuguese, it wasn't just the base game. It was the base game all the way through Cataclysm and all the patches since then. And all that content had to be done. So we started looking at how big that game is. We found out, you know, it's 4 million words. Now, to give you an idea of what 4 million words is, the Harry Potter franchise, all the books, all the 7 books, is less than 1 million words. I think the Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, is 500,000 words, something like that. So 4 million words give you an idea of the depth of this epic storyline. It's phenomenal. That doesn't include then, of course, all the voiceovers that have to be recorded, and you have to pick and find the right stars and the right voices. So we ended up, you know, it actually turned out we used almost all the recording artists that were professional here in Brazil in order to find the right voices to do all of these voices. So we were hundreds and hundreds of hours in the studio to record that. But doing it right, it's not a literal translation, you know. What we tried to do is find out what should we translate, what shouldn't we translate, because we got people that have been playing for 6 years, and they've got a special affinity to certain names, and we needed to make sure all the slang in there was appropriate, the voices that we used, the jokes that were in there, the accents that we used, you know, were appropriate for the characters and whatever, and to build that into the story. So we went through I call it a real labor of love to make sure that this was translated the way it should be done. And there's not a lot of precedence for it, as you might know. There's not a lot of games that have been localized properly into Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. And so we also had to break new ground on that and really invent the way that games should be translated here. We started doing it with StarCraft 2, and we really grew from there and added to that. So I think you know people are going to be really pleased with that, and that's part of the reason we asked people to have to wait until this year to see this game come out. Every country has their unique idiosyncrasies that make it more challenging to get set up. Brazil's no exception to that. But it's a great point that you bring up, is the requirement to make sure the business model matches what it's going to take to sell a game here. You know, we might sell it for one price, but by the time it's imported and the distribution margin and the retailer margin, and then you put value-added tax on there on top of the import tax, you end up with a different price for the consumer, completely different than what, you know, originally it is. So we have to take all that into account, because our consumer only cares about what they end up having to pay for when they go into a store. And so we have to be conscious of where that ends up, but we also need to grow a business and make a business that we can continue to invest in, you know, adding servers, improving our servers, improving the game, adding content. You know, that's an ongoing effort that we never sleep on. We keep going. So that added some complexity. We wanted to add an office here before we got serious about it, because we needed to have local people with local knowledge and local expertise in the gaming market to make sure we thought of all these things. And the exciting piece is, through that time, we were able to find a way to get the price right for the Brazilian market. A lot of companies basically take their U.S. business model, throw it over the fence, and whatever it ends up getting marked up to, that's what you have to pay for it. And we understand why they have to do that, because it's setting priorities. But we want to do it differently. You know, the Blizzard way is to do it right when we come to a market. So that's what we're doing. So I've got some exciting prices to announce to you guys. We're taking our base game, the original brown box, and taking the Burning Crusade, which was the first expansion set that we did. We're combining them into one box. That box is going to be available here to Brazilians in retail and digitally for 29 Brazilian reais. So we know that relative to the gaming market and the cost of games when you have to go buy them, that's a really good price. You know, you're talking about relative to prices that are 60, 80, 100, 200 reais. 29 reais gives anybody access to play the game, and that's all they need to play that game, and they play. Then, as you know, our game is a subscription service, and the beauty of that means that's all you have to pay. A free-to-play is a great game idea, but as you know, in order to be competitive in that game, you better go buy a really cool armor, you better go buy some big weapons, and you got to buy some gold and other things to really compete. So it becomes financially, who's ever got the most financial resources might be the best player in the game. We look at it as we want a level playing field. We want the best skilled players, the most dedicated players, the smartest players, the most strategic players, the ones that cooperate better with their friends to be the ones that win and compete the best. And that's the beauty of a game that has that is a subscription. So that we're releasing a subscription price that also is extremely affordable and right for the market. So as you might know, in the US it's $15. It actually kind of worked out right to be able to give Brazilians a discount and make it 15 Brazilian reais. So that's a great discount. You can buy that direct from Blizzard, and we're trying to make that as easy as you can, because we know that in the past you needed to have an international, Visa or MasterCard to be able to buy directly. We're improving on that greatly. We're now going to be fully integrated with boleto bancário, bank transfers, debit cards, on, and we're going to keep improving on that and making that easier so you can get in at that price. And so somebody finds they love the game, they can end up paying 15 reais a month, that's it. And it's half the price of a movie ticket. And the amount of replayability of a game like this, the amount of social interaction you're going to have, it's a wonderful value. But when this comes out this year, you can imagine in true Blizzard fashion, we'll do we'll have some fun together and get a good group of our fans together, dressed up the way they want, being able to experience, being together in the real world and not just the virtual world together. So we'll have something. Well, I can say it's definitely going to be one of our top countries. I think once we launch here and make it a lot more much easier for people and more accessible for people to get into the game, I see it's very possibly to be easily be a top 10 country for us.